My husband went to the army as a doctor, taking his frail and sickly sister-in-law with him, simply because the conditions in the countryside were poor, and he was afraid she would suffer. I had a difficult labor and a high fever, but he refused to come back, claiming that sister-in-law's cold is more serious, causing me to suffer from a lifelong illness. After the child was born, he was weak and sickly. I begged him to bring back some medicine, but he coldly replied, "My brother's child needs it more, you and your child should bear with it." I endured until he came home, thinking life could finally be peaceful, but instead, I was met with, "Let's get a divorce. My sister-in-law's child is being called a bastard at school, I can't let him continue without a proper status." I was infuriated to death. Opening my eyes again, I was back on the day of the difficult birth. This time, I found a doctor in advance, had a smooth delivery, and wrote the divorce agreement as soon as possible. This time I will make him and my sister-in-law pay the price. Having just given birth, I didn't even take postpartum confinement before rushing to Remy Sier's military unit. When I got to the guardhouse, they heard I was looking for Remy Sier and enthusiastically welcomed me. The young soldier next to him joked, "Dr. Sier, who is this? Could it be one of your admirers? I didn't expect you and your wife to be so happy. And there are still girls willing to travel thousands of miles to find you." I pushed the door open, wanting to say hello to Remy Sier. I didn't expect his face to darken the moment he saw me, because my sister-in-law, Rena Chin, was lying naked beneath him, Remy Sier's hand still resting on her back as he massaged her. The soldiers beside him were used to it and smiled as they closed the door for us. Rena Chin heard my voice and quickly clutched her clothes, looking up at me. "Aria, what are you doing here?" The moment I said that, I looked at her face, and we both froze, stunned. Rena Chin was 6 years older than me, but her skin was flawless, without a single wrinkle on her face, and I had just given birth. My body was weak, and I even carried a lingering bloody and milky smell. Seeing this, Remy Sier hastily grabbed a piece of clothing and carefully put it on Rena Chin. He looked displeased as he helped her dress. "Aria, son, why did you come here? Don't you know the military is very strict? You can't just come whenever you want." I frowned and looked at him coldly. "Your sister-in-law can settle down here, so why can't I, as your wife? Or are you saying you don't want them to know we're married, and want them to assume you and your sister-in-law are a couple?" Only then did Rena Chin realize what was happening. She walked forward and leaned against Remy Sier, looking slightly aggrieved. "Aria, what are you saying? We only let them call us that to avoid gossip. Remy and I are completely innocent. There's nothing between us." I swept a cold glance over them. Remy Sier turned his head away, avoiding my gaze. Just then, there was another knock at the door. A chubby little boy rushed in and hugged Remy Sier's arm. "Dad, when are you going to transfer me to your household registration? They all say that if your household registration isn't under the same account, you're not family, but you're clearly my dad." Remy Sier's expression changed instantly when he heard the word dad. He quickly gave Rena Chin a look, and Rena Chin quickly pulled the child away. I watched the child's innocent back, then looked at Remy Sier, his eyes beginning to panic. "Impressive, Remy Sier, you don't care about your own child, but you're rushing to be a father to someone else's." His eyes darted around, looking at my flat stomach. "You gave birth. I've been so busy lately. I haven't been back to see you. Why did you come here right after giving birth?" I ignored him, took 2 steps back, and looked at him coldly. Remy Sier seemed to suddenly realize something, forcing a smile as he approached. "Aria, what do kids know? They're just talking nonsense. Besides, he's my older brother's child, and my brother and I are as close as real brothers. There's nothing wrong with him calling me dad. If you're willing, we can also transfer Jace to our household registration." I scoffed, finding Remy Sier's words utterly absurd. But this wasn't the first time he'd said something like this. 3 years ago, Remy Sier's eldest brother passed away in an accident. Under his mother's matchmaking, he naturally took over the burden of supporting his sister-in-law and nephew. Initially, he only helped out occasionally. Unexpectedly, the more he helped, the closer they became, to the point where he wished he could treat his sister-in-law as his own wife. That was until 2 years ago when Remy Sier was assigned to the military. I thought Remy Sier would take me with him, but he said Rena Chin was in poor health and needed his care, so he quietly left with her, leaving me alone to care for my elderly mother-in-law. Before he left, he promised to come back and see me every year, And I believed him. In the first year, he did come back once. After that, no matter how I wrote letters or inquired, I never heard from him again. Not even a penny of allowance or food was sent, only the sentence "the team is strained, nothing can be distributed" was left behind. I said I wanted to go find him, but he flatly refused. Following the army is dangerous and not suitable for women. I naively thought he was doing it for my own good, and even felt that his being a military doctor was the highest honor, and as his wife, I couldn't cause him any trouble, so I gradually stopped bothering him, until I had a difficult labor. And the village doctor was helpless, saying that only Remy Sier could save me. I asked someone to send him a letter day and night, but he replied, "My sister-in-law has a fever, I can't get away." After the child was born, I developed health problems. When he returned from his military service, the first thing he did was not to visit, but to file for divorce, simply because he said he couldn't let Jay Sier become a bastard without a father. I just found it laughable. For all these years that Rena Chin had been with Sier alongside the army, everyone had assumed that she was Mrs. Sier, while my child and I were nothing more than a burden without a title. Just as I was about to say something, a crashing sound suddenly came from outside the door. Jay Sier charged in like a cannonball, slamming me head first into the fireplace. My back slammed hard against the stove, the scorching hot metal sticking to my arm. I groaned in pain, watching helplessly as a layer of skin peeled off. "You bitch, what are you doing here, trying to steal my dad from me?" Jay Sier roared at me. "You're just a poor country bumpkin, disgusting to even look at." He spoke quickly, in perfect, standard Mandarin. Rena Chin quickly stepped forward to hold him back, coaxing softly, "Jace, speak to her in the local dialect, she doesn't understand Mandarin." I looked down at Jay Sier and smiled. "Who are you calling a bitch? Who taught you that?" He was clearly stunned. "No one in my village can speak Mandarin, but I learned it word by word from TV dramas, just to get closer to Remy Sier. My arms are blistered and numb with pain." Remy Sier stood far away and tossed me a piece of gauze. "Aria, he's just a child and doesn't know any better, don't hold it against him. For that burn of yours, just rinse it with cold water." I stared intently at him. "You're a doctor, you know that this kind of burn can get infected if it's not treated, and yet you're telling me to bandage it myself." He glanced at me impatiently. "If you hadn't rushed over here on your own, would this have happened? Once you've taken care of your injuries, go back," he added. Without even stepping closer, I stared blankly at him, my throat as if choked by something, unable to even make a sound. I never imagined that in his eyes, I was such a superfluous existence. "But I don't plan to go back." Hearing this, Remy Sier's voice was filled with suppressed dissatisfaction. "Aria, son, you can't stay here, didn't I tell you already? It's dangerous here, not a place for a woman like you. Go back tomorrow, and wait for me at home." I looked at him, my eyes instantly turning red. "I was injured during childbirth and then fell ill, so I can't work in the fields, there are no food stamps at home, the children have no milk to drink, and my body is about to give out. What do you want me to go back for? To wait for death?" Remy Sier frowned, looking at me with disgust. "I sent you a bunch of medicine for the flu a while ago, how could you get sick? And the food stamps and cloth coupons were all sent back on time. What are you pretending to be pitiful for now?" I laughed until tears streamed down my face. I stared at him, my eyes wide. "Remy Sier, you never sent me those things. Even when I was pregnant and had a high fever, almost fainting, and wrote you so many letters, you never came back once. Do you know what I ate during my entire pregnancy?" Remy Sier frowned, his tone disbelieving. "How is that possible?" He paused, as if suddenly realizing something, and turned to look at Rena Chin. He walked incredulously to her side and whispered a few words. Soon after, Jay Sier's voice came from inside the house. "Dad, why are you helping outsiders bully Mom? Those things were originally for the three of us. Why are you giving them to outsiders?" Remy Sier was busy comforting Jay Sier, and after a while, she came out, her tone becoming stiff. "Aria, Jace tore up those letters. I didn't know, he's still young, and I didn't notice, the things I was supposed to send you. Your sister-in-law probably just forgot. I just found it laughable. So you never suspected why I didn't have any news at all, you never even bothered to ask." Remy Sier frowned, looking self-righteous. "How would I know what's going on with you? I just thought you didn't want to write to me. Besides, eldest sister-in-law spent that money on me anyway, so what are you getting angry about now? I clenched my teeth, unable to speak. Perhaps my face was too pale. Remy Sier came up and took my hand. Aria, don't be like this. I'll go to the mailroom myself to get the mail from now on, and I'll keep up with how you and the kids are doing, so don't be upset. You haven't been feeling well lately, so stay here for a few more days, and I'll help you recuperate. Go back after you've recovered. The kids need you too. I snorted coldly, not wanting to pay him any attention at all, and turned to go inside. Remy Sier followed closely behind, with no one else in the room. His eyes suddenly became fiery. He sat down on the edge of my bed and whispered, "Aria, I've missed you so much." With that, he couldn't wait to kiss my lips. The next second, there was a violent knock on the door. Jace Sier sat at the door, a large patch of red and swollen burn marks clearly visible on his arm. Rena Chin stood aside, looking panicked and helpless. She was sobbing uncontrollably. I don't even know what happened. That kettle wasn't supposed to be there. Maybe Aria touched it when she was pouring water and moved the kettle. Jace didn't know and bumped into it. Jace Sier, while crying, pointed at me and started yelling, "It's all because of this bastard. It's all because of this bitch. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't have been burned. Daddy, I don't want her living here. You kick her out." Remy Sier's expression clearly showed impatience, her eyes turning colder. "Aria, you can stay here if you want, but why are you messing with things? Do you even know how delicate a child's skin is? What if it scars after being burned?" I frowned. "Remy Sier, I didn't even touch him just now." Before I could finish, Remy Sier impatiently bumped into me and walked towards Jace Sier. My arm was already burned and hadn't healed, and after hitting the wall behind me, a piercing pain surged from the depths of my nerves. Remy Sier didn't even look at me, only said coldly, "Aria son, your arrival has disrupted the harmony here. Can't you see? Jace has been very irritable these past 2 days. I've never seen him like this." I stared blankly at him, my throat tightening. "Are you trying to get rid of me?" He didn't answer, but silently looked away, as if in agreement. After a long time, I finally spoke. "I'm not leaving. You're my husband. I shouldn't be the one to leave." Hearing this, Remy Sier sighed in annoyance and dragged me out the door. My arm was still bleeding, but he didn't even glance at it. He just roughly stuffed a few food stamps into my bag. "Get lost. Don't get in our way here." Hearing these words, I felt a tightness in my chest and my breathing became erratic. Turning my head again, I saw him squatting next to Jace Sier, applying medicine for him. So it wasn't that he didn't know how to be good to people, but that he simply didn't want to be good to me. When bandaging Jace Sier just now, he was skillful and meticulous, but when it came to me, he wouldn't even hand me a piece of gauze. More and more people gathered around, their eyes filled with disdain. From inside the house, Jace Sier's crying continued, mixed with Remy Sier's soft words of comfort to Rena Chin. Someone in the crowd whispered, "Could she be the mistress?" Exactly. I always thought Dr. Sier seemed upright and not the type to have an affair. This woman has no shame, probably eager to be a homewrecker. Before I could retort, the door was suddenly opened. Remy Sier stood at the door, his eyes cold. "Aria's son, get out of here. Don't embarrass yourself here." Even Rena Chin spoke, holding Jace Sier in her arms, her tone gentle. "Aria, Jace is fine, even if you left him with such a big scar. He won't blame you." The surrounding sounds grew increasingly chaotic, but I suddenly became quiet. I looked up at Rena Chin, a slow smile curving at the corners of my mouth. Then, step by step, I knelt down and wailed, "Sister-in-law, Jace is your and my brother's child. Don't worry, I will take good care of them and treat them as my own sons." I looked up at her, tears in my eyes, but my tone carried a sarcastic plea. "Please, give me back my husband." "Okay." The people around me immediately quieted down when they heard me call him husband. They all looked at Remy Sier, their eyes filled with confusion and surprise. "Wait, she just called Rena Chin sister-in-law. What's the relationship here?" "I'm from the same village as Dr. Sier, and I remember Dr. Sier's wife's surname was Song, not Chin." "Right, I thought I misremembered, so something really did happen." Various whispers crept into Remy Sier's ears, his face darkened, and he abruptly pushed everyone away, forcibly pulling me up from the ground. I struggled against him, and my freshly scalded arm was exposed as I broke free. The skin on her arm was torn and bloody, causing everyone to gasp. "My God, her arm is almost rotten." Isn't it? How did this happen? Could it be that Rena Chin was jealous of her and injured her? Remy Xie couldn't pull me, so she whispered in my ear, Aria, let's go inside and talk about some things, don't make a scene outside, but I shook my head desperately, my voice choked with sobs. Remy, please don't scold me anymore, and don't hit me anymore. I agree. Isn't it enough that I agree to put Jace in my household registration? Back then, you said Rena Chin was in poor health and insisted on bringing her with the army. But now I see, she doesn't look like a patient at all, she's much healthier than me. I beg you, don't divorce me, don't abandon our child. As soon as my voice came out, everyone around instantly understood the whole story. Several young soldiers stepped forward, their faces grim. Dr. Xie, we always said you were a good man, but we didn't expect you to do something like this. How could you bring your sister-in-law to join the army? Everyone knows that only married couples can apply to join the army. Rena Chin couldn't help but stand up, her face pale. It's not like that. Remy and I are innocent. We didn't do anything. Remy Xie was also anxious. Everyone, please don't misunderstand. My elder brother passed away. It's only right that I take care of my sister-in-law. But the crowd no longer looked like they believed him as they did before. Even if it's taking care of someone, you can't take care of them like this, right? A widow following the army. How does that look if word gets out? In our village, she'd be drowned in spit. Dr. Xie gets so many ration coupons every month, says it's to support his mother, but he doesn't send a single one back. Leaving his wife and children at home to eat chaff and wild herbs, I watched them, one by one, go from suspicion to clarity, and finally couldn't help but cry. Remy Xie. Then tell me, if you didn't have ulterior motives, why have you never cared about our family? The day my child was born, I had a high fever and came to you for medicine, but you said Jace Xie's health was more important. Do you know how your mother has treated me all these years? She wouldn't give me food. I didn't gain even half a pound while pregnant. Instead, I lost 10 pounds. Who would have thought I'm actually 6 years younger than my sister-in-law? The crowd completely erupted. All eyes immediately falling on Remy Xie's face. Oh my god, I thought this woman was older than Rena Chin. But she's actually younger, her complexion, her figure, she's completely worn out, her child almost died, and Remy Xie is still here indulging in romance. The composure in Remy Xie's eyes finally began to crumble. He whispered my name, stepped forward, and carefully stroked my trembling hand. I'm sorry, Aria, I didn't know, I really didn't know. I swear, once this mission is over, I will definitely go home and give you and the children a better life. I turned my face away, not wanting to look at him anymore. Just then, the minister strode over with several officers. He saw me kneeling on the ground, covered in wounds, and his expression changed drastically. What's going on here? How did things get like this? Several officers whispered the details of what had just happened into his ear. The minister frowned deeply. Remy Xie, what exactly is going on? Remy Xie shuddered. It's nothing, minister, this is a family matter. After saying that, he hurriedly came to pull me. Aria, let's go, let's talk inside, but the minister stopped him, frowning as he looked at him. She's hurt this badly, and you're still pulling her around without any consideration, even though you're a doctor. You're still attached to the army and must adhere to military discipline. When you initially reported your information to join the army, what name did you use? Aria's son, or Rena Chin? Remy Xie stammered, not daring to speak. The minister merely glanced at him askance before speaking. If you dare to forge your identity and falsely report information, you will be deceiving superiors and disrespecting military discipline. As the minister spoke, he gently helped me behind him. Looking at my bruised and battered arms, his eyes filled with heartache. Girl, tell me, what help do you need? I can make the decisions for you, from now on. You are an official member of our military family, enjoying the best treatment. Okay, I looked at him, tears finally falling uncontrollably, but still gently shaking my head. No, I just want to divorce Remy Xie. Everyone was stunned by these words, and all eyes fell on me. Remy Xie pushed Rena Chin away abruptly and rushed to me. What did you say, Aria? Are you crazy? You just had a baby, and you want to divorce me? Yes, I want to divorce you. My voice was steady. But every word was like a knife. Over the years, you've only cared about your eldest brother's family, never about me, and never about our children. I always thought you were too busy in the army. Now that I'm here today, I realize you've been raising someone else's child as your own son. I don't want you anymore. Even if I starve to death with my child, I don't want him to have a fickle father like you." Remicier's face changed instantly, and he hurriedly stepped forward to take my hand. "Aria, what are you saying? There must be some misunderstanding. I'm not as bad as you say. We can't get divorced." I looked up at him and asked coldly, "Why not? Haven't you already started a new family? What do you want from me now?" I shook him off and turned to the minister. "Minister, I am formally applying for a divorce. I hope you will approve it." Remicier panicked upon hearing this. He pulled me aside, his face gloomy. "Minister, this matter requires my approval to proceed. She can't make the decision alone." The minister's face darkened, and his eyes clearly turned cold. Though disagreeing, he shook his head at me with a helpless expression. I also understood the minister's difficulties and decided to stay first and then think of a good countermeasure. The minister saw that I had relented and immediately instructed people to take good care of me. After a while, someone brought clean clothes and arranged a room for me, instructing me to rest well for the next few days. I originally planned to leave as soon as I thought of a way to get a divorce, but I didn't expect Remicier to hold me back and not let me go. He followed me into the house, lowering his voice as he spoke. "Aria, let's not get divorced, okay? I can't live without you. Besides, we already have a child. I don't want him to be born without a father." I looked at him and sneered. "Great, then you can have your sister-in-law move out and stop living together." Remicier's face changed abruptly, her tone laced with impatience. "Where can a woman like her go? She's not in good health. How will she live? Besides, Jace is timid. If he loses his father, how will he get by at school?" I looked at him, my eyes as cold as ice. "You feel so sorry for them. But why have you never felt sorry for me? Do you know how your mother has bullied me these past 3 years? The day before I found out I was pregnant, she forced me to carry water from the mountain to bathe. I walked back and forth dozens of times, falling and injuring myself all over, unable to even stand. And she still called me useless." "Remicier, when you were taking care of someone else's son, did you ever think that your wife was also suffering, that your child was also sick?" Remicier opened his mouth, wanting to say something. In the end, he just remained silent, lowered his head, and sighed deeply. The room was eerily quiet, so quiet that I could clearly hear the rustling of the wind blowing through the branches outside. Remicier was still sighing, her lips slightly moving, opening her mouth several times but unable to speak. But I suddenly spoke. "You won't agree to a divorce, will you?" I turned around, no longer with a trace of pleading on my face. "But I don't need you to sign it either." He was stunned. I pulled a piece of paper from under the pillow and unfolded it deliberately. That was the complaint I had written, the handwriting clear and distinct, stroke by stroke. "It's okay if you don't want to sign the divorce agreement. I've already written a complaint letter and am ready to send it to the Military Regions Supervisory Department." I looked at him and said, word by word, "You altered the accompanying military documents without authorization, reporting your widowed sister-in-law as a spouse to the military. This matter, as long as someone investigates, is not a small problem." Remicier's face turned pale instantly, and her voice lowered. "Are you threatening me?" I smiled, and at that moment I even felt relieved. Not a threat, just a reminder. "I've finally learned to stop expecting you to have a change of heart, so I'm giving you a choice: save your face, or get a divorce and return what's mine to me. The choice is yours." Remicier didn't answer, only held my hand and sighed repeatedly. After a long while, he finally murmured, "Aria, give me a month." "Okay, I will definitely give you a satisfactory answer." I nodded. After all, my health wasn't great right now, and I needed Remicier to help me recuperate. Besides, the evidence I have on hand is enough to bring him down, so I'm not afraid of any new moves he might make. I settled down in the army, and Remicier came every day. He was testing the waters, not wanting to divorce me, but I was firm every time. As long as he said he didn't want a divorce, I would make him kick out his sister-in-law. After saying it a few times, Remicier seemed to get impatient, and his initial reluctance to divorce began to waver, but still determined not to get divorced. But since the day I filed for divorce, the atmosphere in the military unit changed. The minister personally kept me behind and arranged for me to work as an assistant in the medical clinic. They said it was to take care of the doctor's family, but I knew it was more like a hint. But Rena Chin and Remy Sier pretended not to understand and continued to do their own thing every day. I didn't bother with them either. After all, after divorcing Remy Sier, I would need to have my own career, so I took advantage of these days to learn many new things. During the day, I assisted with drug registration, and at night, I slowly sorted out the account books from these years. I even made 3 copies of the military-dependent application form that Remy Sier had secretly altered that year, and put them into envelopes, sorted by category. When the minister came to inspect, he casually praised me for being meticulous, and then said to Remy Sier, "Your wife is a real virtuous helper. You must cherish her." He smiled stiffly, while Rena Chin next to him lowered her head, a hint of panic faintly visible in her eyes. Remy Sier was excited and started planning our life after the military assignment ended, noticing that I had mentioned divorce less frequently lately, but he didn't know that during the day, while I was helping with the medicine inventory, a soldier came and gave me a letter signed Discipline Inspection Section of the Beijing Garrison Command. When I opened it, it was an acceptance reply. "We have received the content of your report regarding issues such as forgery of military family information, private use of military resources, and failure to fulfill the duty of supporting military family members. A formal investigation will be launched after verification. Thank you for your cooperation and trust." I folded the letter and put it in a book behind the medicine cabinet. From this moment on, Remy Sier's truly good days were over, but before Remy Sier's scandal could be exposed, Rena Chin had an accident first. I was in the medical room organizing the medicine cabinet when someone came running in, panting, and said excitedly, "Aria, come out quickly. Dr. Sier has gone mad, he's hitting people." I frowned and put down what I was doing. Walking out the door, I saw Remy Sier rushing into the military camp living area, his face pale, his eyes almost showing a breakdown. He kicked open Rena Chin's door. A logistics soldier in military uniform inside the room didn't even have time to react before being punched to the ground. Rena Chin was only wearing a loosely fitted nightgown, with light makeup on her face, and clutching the bracelet that Remy Sier had obtained for her. She panicked and cried, trying to stop Remy Sier. "Remy, let me explain. It's not what you think, not what I think." Remy Sier seemed to have gone mad, his voice cracking. "I even lost my wife for you, all for you. And it turns out you've been with someone else all along." He roared like a beast, his eyes bloodshot, his fingers trembling. "You said you weren't feeling well and wanted me to take you with the army. You said you were afraid the villagers would bully you, afraid no one would take care of Jace. And what happened? You were in my house, sleeping with another man. Are you worthy of my brother?" I stood on the very edge of the crowd, watching quietly. Without a word, someone recognized me and asked softly, "Aria, aren't you going in to take a look?" I smiled and shook my head. The next morning, Remy Sier came. He stood at the entrance of the infirmary, unshaven, with a hollow look in his eyes. He looked at me, his voice low and hoarse. "Aria, I was wrong. I know now that you are the most important. That bitch Rena Chin has been lying to me all along. She even used the food stamps I gave you to support other men." I didn't look at him, continuing to check the medicine inventory. "Didn't you say she was Big Brother's widow, and I should take care of her for Big Brother? Didn't you say she would never covet your things?" He was speechless, and after a long silence, he finally spoke. "She lied to me. I really didn't know about her and others. But what's the difference between you and her? You've been lying to me all along too." I looked up at him, my eyes as calm as a stagnant pool. "Do you really think I haven't noticed that your relationship with Rena Chin is unusual? Do you really think I would believe you're innocent just because you brought her to the military base? It's just that back then, I was stupid, and I still loved you. So I chose to deceive myself into believing you don't love me anymore." His voice trembled. I chuckled. "Remy Sier, everything you've done has been pushing me away with your own hands." He knelt down with a thud. "Aria, please, don't leave me. I'm willing to put the house and land under your name. I only beg you not to report me, and not to get a divorce." I looked at the disheveled man before me, but the image of me falling down the mountain with my pregnant belly surfaced in my mind. I glanced down at him, my voice barely audible. "I'm no longer the woman you thought would forgive you and depend on you." Less than 10 days after the report was submitted, the Discipline Inspection Commission issued an official document. Remy Sier is expelled from the military. his military doctor qualification revoked, and permanently barred from employment for privately altering the information of military dependents, misusing supplies, and falsely reporting information related to accompanying the military. Rena Chin was also repatriated to her place of origin, and the previously claimed care for the widow turned into keeping the widowed sister-in-law. Those colleagues who had privately defended him turned around and said nothing more, and Jae Xie lost all face because of Rena Chin's affair. Now he doesn't dare to go out, muttering like a madman every day that he is not a bastard and that he has a father. But that has nothing to do with me anymore. After Remy Xie was imprisoned, the minister approved my divorce application. The processing speed was so fast, it even surprised me a little. I took my child, officially divorced, and left the military region. On the day I left, many people came to see me off, including that young soldier who stood up for me. He handed me a letter. It's from the Central Military Commission Garrison Department. They read your work report and letter of recommendation and would like to invite you to join the medical support logistics team. I was stunned for a moment, then took the letter, my heart leaping with joy. Once in the capital, the work was busy but fulfilling. The child also received systematic treatment, and his health gradually improved. I used the money I earned to rent a house and start a new life. The child also slowly learned to speak and began to call me Mama. He is no longer the malnourished, pitiful child he was in his previous life. In this life, I fed him until he was chubby and could recite 300 Tang poems by the time he was 3 years old. In my 4th year in Beijing, I took my child to the hospital for a follow-up appointment. As I exited the entrance, a military vehicle was parked not far away. My current direct superior had come to pick me up in person. He had always taken great care of me, not the passionate pursuit, but the patient waiting. He smiled and waved at me, holding the gifts he had bought for me in Xiaobao. I was putting a scarf around the child, ready to walk towards him, when I heard a hoarse shout from behind. Aria! I didn't move, nor did I stop walking. It wasn't until that voice, hoarse and pleading, sounded a second time. Aria-san, wait for me. It's me, Remy Xie. That's when I turned back. Remy Xie was wearing an old, faded army coat, his face devoid of its former heroic spirit, leaving only exhaustion and weariness. He's lost a lot of weight, and the dark circles under his eyes reveal years of sleepless nights. He walked towards me cautiously, his voice trembling. Aria, I'm out of prison. I've been thinking about a lot of things these past few years. I was wrong. Are you doing well now? I lowered my eyes to glance at him, my tone indifferent and steady. Dr. Xie, you've mistaken me for someone else. I took my child's hand and got into the car without looking back. The director of political affairs looked back at him, his eyes full of pity as he looked at me. Aria, who is that? Is he one of the homeless people you kindly sponsor? And now he's clinging to you. Should I step in and help you get rid of him? I shook my head. Don't worry about him. He's just a useless person. The car door closed slowly. In that moment, I saw Remy Xie kneeling on the spot, eyes red, mouth still seeming to call my name. But I couldn't hear that voice anymore. I thought things would end here. I didn't expect that Remy Xie, since that day, would guard the hospital where I work every day like a madman. It just so happened that one day my boss didn't pick me up, and as I walked out the door alone after a night shift, I saw Remy Xie standing under the plane trees across the street. Wearing that faded old army coat, his hair was messy, and he was carrying a lunchbox in his hand. He ran towards me, a smile on his lips that was both awkward and ingratiating. Aria, I made your favorite pork rib soup especially for you. It's still hot. Would you like some? I didn't stop, didn't even look at him, and walked past him. He got anxious, dropped the lunchbox and chased after me, spreading his arms to block me. Are you really not giving me any chance at all? I have nothing left. I can't get into the army, or even the hospital. Everyone looks down on me. I just want you to forgive me one time. I finally stopped and slowly looked up at him, my eyes without a trace of emotion. Remy Xie, why should I forgive you? You think I should soften just because you're pathetic, but have you forgotten? When I was at my lowest, you were the one who kicked me out the door. When I begged you not to drive me away, you said Rena Chin would be disgusted by the sight of me. What kind of affection are you pretending now? He froze, a twisted look of regret appearing on his face. I was out of my mind back then. I was a bastard. I raised my hand to interrupt him. Shut up, Remy Xie. I feel disgusted just hearing you say a word right now. Don't you love your sister-in-law and her son? Didn't you say Jace would be bullied at school without a father? Then why don't you go back to them? What's wrong? You realized you're a joke, so now you want to drag me out to be your doormat again. Aren't you very generous? What's wrong with wearing a little green hat? He froze on the spot, his eyes red, his voice almost pleading. Arya, I've really changed. Please don't be so heartless. Even if you won't forgive me, at least let me see our child. After all, he hasn't seen his father since he was born. I chuckled, took a step closer to him, and whispered in his ear, no, he already has a father. Remy froze, not understanding what I meant. I raised my eyebrows at him, but didn't say anything more. He reached out to grab me, but I pulled his hand away and walked straight towards the hospital gate, behind me. He collapsed to the ground like a lost soul, muttering my name. He threw me into the mud, but I bloomed a flower in the mud. Now he wants to hold it back, but I just feel dirty. He lives in regret, while I live in the light. I'm taking my child to pursue the good life that belongs to me.